And what's up, nerds? I started that way too early yet once again, but you know what? I'm not gonna go through and redo it. My name is Brendan, I'm the nerd of many faces, and to my right is, of course, Shane at FDScosplay, and we are the Knights of Nerd. It's been a few hot days for us, for everyone everywhere, and you know, that has kind of made it so that way. It's kind of funny enough, it actually goes into the topic that we're going to be discussing today, and content creation. Now, Shane, how have you been faring this heat?
Hotter than what it is outside because I've been running my printer nonstop for like the past week.
Wait, what?
So I've been running my printer for like the last week, so it's added quite a bit more heat in the house and in my office. So it's like 85 outside, but probably maybe like 110 in my office, maybe. But I've got my fan going. I'm good. I did turn off the printer though. The printer is off.
Okay.
It's about it's right now. The print I got right now is about 47 hours in, and it's looking beautiful. I am redoing my Winter Soldier arm, so I'm 3D printing that. So it's basically going to be a one piece instead of the two piece resin thing that I've got, and this is going to look beautiful because I'm going to paint it with Luminuster. It's going to have that nice, beautiful shine, and I'm going to be very, very happy with it. And if not, I'm just going to like jump off a bridge because 47 hours, and I probably still got probably about another maybe 10, maybe to be done when I wake up in the morning.
No, and you won't have a giant spaghetti monster.
Oh no, it's too hot for that.
Fair. Because that's right, cons are coming back. There's a lot of events, and with that, content it's like more and more people are creating content. And again, that is the focus of this episode today. And today we have some very, very special guests. And so let's go ahead and get to them so that way we can introduce them and we can just have this fantastic conversation about content creation. So, in the bottom left-hand corner, we have my dear friend David, who you may not recognize him without a whole lot of makeup because he is the one and only Dragpool, as well as Andrew Lincoln from Walking Dead. I can't remember his character's name. Help me. Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead. Thank you, David. It's been a hot minute since I've with the real guys, and fantastic makeup artist. I've seen his Gold Dust. I've seen his Dragpool, his Rick Grimes, the makeup that he does on his partner Paul for a zombie, like a chain zombie, is amazing. Like, if I want makeup tips, I ask him. And then in the center, we have the lovely Kiri Callaghan. Did I say that right?
Callaghan.
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 Okay. Callaghan. The dangy author, TikToker, as well as David as well. I forgot to mention that he is a fantastic TikToker. Twitch streamer, voice actor, as just so many things, just so many. And then last but not least, an old college friend of mine, Kenny. We knew each other from our days of being in the Black Rose Band at the University of Montana Western. He has gone to do more impressive things in terms of getting a degree than what I could ever possibly imagine, by going through and getting not one, but you're working on your second doctorate, correct?
Yeah, so I finished up a JD a couple years ago, and I jumped from there over into a DBA in marketing, of which I am in the dissertation program or process now.
So what you're saying is, if I ever get into trouble with any types of terms of service, I come to you, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can always be your Saul Goodman. Don't worry.
All right. So, I guess to kind of kick off this conversation is what drew you to, it's like what has drawn everybody to content creation. I know that Kenny's going to be more on more of the intellectual side and the legal side of it, but what drew everyone here to become as working on being a content creator? Because content creator has a weird connotation to it, because some people don't see it as an actual job, in which they're incorrect. It's a lot of work to go through and produce this on either a daily basis. And so I guess Kiri, will start with you, considering I can just go like this with my hands and it kind of directly points to you. Yes. Brady Bunch this.
It's throwing me off, but I've been trying real hard to follow the Brady Bunchness. Are we going back to like the very beginning, or like what we're doing now?
The very beginning, because it's like,
Okay.
in my mind, you have how many? It's like you have over 1,000 followers on TikTok.
310,000.
Oh, that's a lot.
Very weird, to be honest.
Wait, and it's like, what was the bet that you made with your wife? Has she dyed her hair yet?
No, it's at 1 million, and
It's
I
at
think she did that knowing that it'll take a very long time to get there. But I don't know. Who knows? Because I feel like that happened very. I don't know. That's very weird.
All right.
We're going from the very beginning. My mother made the fatal mistake of explaining what an actor was when I was 4. And I decided I want to do that because they get to play pretend for a living. I was obsessed with The Little Mermaid, and when my siblings were at school, because I was still too young, I made her watch it with me a million times, and I told her I wanted to be Ariel. And she said, well, that there is someone who does her voice. And I was like, excuse me? And she explained what voice acting was, and I was like, what? People can do that? Like, that's an adult thing that you're allowed to do? And then they gave up any hope of me having a genuine, real person career. And yeah, that between anxiety, ADHD, and feeling far more comfortable performing than, like, having a normal conversation, we're here.
As I'm pretty sure that a lot of us here, like, I have my degrees in literature and writing with a minor in theater and in music, and as probably Kenny can attest, because he was around during that time. It's like how often was I in shows or something along those lines?
Oh, constantly. And then we tried to kill you on stage.
Yes.
Wait, like in the play, or like we're like, hey, if we drop this sandbag, it'll look like an accident.
Trying to play cowpunk at like 3 million beats per minute.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
He was our drummer.
And
Yes.
and David, what got you your start into content creation? And you have one of the most creative mashups, and also one of the most well-received mashups in terms of cosplay communities, with Dragpool.
I won't disagree with you. Well, if we're going to do that, I'm going to take Kiri's example and go back to the beginning. I was from as long as I can remember, from being a little kid, I was a storyteller. That was what I liked to do. I was writing my first attempts at novels when I was like 6 years old. I was writing little stories. In fact, I had serial stories throughout my grammar school years. The teachers actually would read in front of the classroom, so got a lot of reward for doing that kind of stuff. And so from there, it just became blossoming. I think content creation was just another way to be able to tell a story. I see that even with my cosplays. I see that with my makeup effects. To me, it's a matter of, I want to know what story I'm telling with all of these props and with this costume, and with creating a character's backstory. That's the fun for it for me. It's to be able to kind of convey that story and to be able to fulfill it, whatever the medium is.
All fantastic. And then Kenny, what got you interested in the legal side of this?
That I didn't want to go into family law like every other person in my class.
Okay.
That was pretty well. I knew enough about how this stuff worked from going from playing music with you to doing stand up in this area, and then kind of all of the live entertainment work in this region dried up almost overnight. So, and then the pandemic hit, and that killed off what was left of it. So, getting into this and studying this, and then trying to make a little bit of a living doing it, it's just been nice to be able to stay home with my dog.
And Shane, because you do cosplay content creation more than anything else.
Yeah.
Especially with 3D printing along those lines. And that, I mean, that was pretty much your start, correct?
My start, well, I did start like everybody else way back when I was a wee lad. The theater's been in my family my entire life. My aunt was a makeup artist. She did cats, and when it came to San Diego, she did, Miss Saigon. She did Nonsense, a bunch of different shows, and she got me into it at a young age because she was like, "You're my nephew. You're gonna be my spawn, not your dad's. You're mine." So she got me into, doing theater and stuff like that. And I really, when I went to school for a theater arts degree. So most of my stuff though wasn't in front of everybody. It was kind of behind the scenes. So I was a director, I was a prop maker, I was a set designer, did lighting. I did a number of shows when I was in school. The biggest one that we did was the Who's Tommy, and it was a blast, man. And I kind of lost my way with it because I was also an athlete, and I played baseball for a very, very long time. Got drafted to do it professionally, and then got hurt, and didn't really know what to do, like what my creative outlet could be, what my content could be, and stuff like that. And then my wife and my daughter gave me a swift kick in the butt because they wanted me out of the house because they were tired of seeing me not doing anything. So I got into cosplaying and stuff like that, and then probably about 3 years ago, I was like, I want to do my own kind of like streaming podcast thing where it's like old dudes gaming. Or it's like, because you see all these kids that are going through and they have their Twitch channels and stuff like that,
And you invite
and
me?
they play games, right?
Am I old now?
And then I'm telling you about it. You're like, dude, why don't we just do a podcast and just talk about the stuff that we love? And I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. And here we are now.
How old are you? What is this
How old am
man's podcast? Like old man gaming. Like what?
I am 36. Shane
44.
Okay.
Not old.
In today's standards, no. Neither of us are. Neither of us are. And that is actually kind of an interesting thing to see in terms of what content creation is the whole entire age range, because you do have people out there that like your 16-year-olds with their Instagram accounts that are basically, it's like, am I followed by every single person in my high school, or did I get a like from XYZ person? And then you have someone on the Kardashian level of Instagram or content creation, which, I mean, to me that seems more rather advertisement than anything else. And I guess that brings up another question is, what drives your like content quality? What is it that you hope that your audience sees and interacts with in regards to what it is that we create? David, we'll start with you.
I just want them to have fun with it. I mean, my kind of measurement for my own creation success is whether I like it or not. And so whether or not when I put something out there, if it doesn't do really well, I always say I'm keeping it up there anyway because I like it. So if I think it's funny, if it makes me laugh, or if it amuses me in some way, That's really what the driving force is initially. And, you know, and then hopefully as other people respond to the material, it does give me some idea of what they want to see. So it's not a matter of it just being this kind of selfish exercise of what amuses me. I do want to entertain them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting my content out there to begin with. So I see what I respond to, and I try to see what those themes are, and then integrate that into what I'm going to create next.
Kenny, what is it that inspired you to? Well, what is it? Because for me, I think in terms of like what I gained from you is a whole lot more knowledge about content creation.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Weirdly, Kiri made a statement earlier that was directly to it. I find this easier than having a conversation with real people. This is just, it's way more stress relieving for me. I'm a bipolar type 1 diagnosis, so talking to people in a normal conversation puts me on edge, whereas this, it's entertainment. It's a face I can put on. And at the same time, the people that do follow my channel, they do come in and want to know my opinion on something, because I have to follow the industry as a whole and what's going on, especially with the Twitch rulings that have been going on lately. So I've been, people, it seems like I can do the two parts of my personality that go well with this stuff at the same time, and not have to, I can pretend to be myself instead of pretending to being someone else.
Okay. And
that makes any sense.
No, it does. It's like, and actually that'll go into another point here in a minute, after we get Kiri's like, you know, driving force in terms of content creation.
Well, I'm gonna steal a little bit from my lovely friend over here. I'm just like going, where is the sides? It has, like, the driving force, it has to be something that I would find interesting, or that I'm excited about, because creating purely from like what someone else is interested in, I can't force myself to do it. I've tried, it was miserable. So it's usually something from like a brain whim of like, ooh, let's follow the dopamine this way. And then depending on, I mean, there's certain stuff that like it gets no traction, but I really enjoy doing it. I have these little sit down with tea videos where like they never do super well with numbers, but the people who do see them are weirdly are oddly very like, oh, I needed this. I needed sort of like this moment of connection. So maybe it's not as much as like when I do the voice of my cat, which for some reason they just freaking love. But I don't know, like it balances out. I want, my driving force is, I want, no matter if I'm writing or creating a video, I want someone to feel something. And to have like a brief moment of connection, whether it's like a dumb laugh, or I have admittedly written or made things specifically with like, I will make you cry. You will vent out tears and it will feel better. It will be cathartic. But I think apathy is art's greatest enemy. So yeah, I want to connect and have some kind of emotion, preferably not like, this fucking sucks and I hate it, but like even with hate comments, it's like you felt something enough that you decided to interact with me, so thank you, I did my job.
Yeah, and here it's like, I think I'm gonna speak for Shane and myself here for a minute, little like a married couple. One of the main reasons why we wanted to start this podcast it was to have the conversation that no one wants to have, or start to have the conversation that people do want to have, but yet have it be a civil and discourse. It's like, have it be a civil discourse, which, you know, people hear the words civil and discourse and think those two don't go together, but they do. You can disagree. It's like we all have varying opinions and we can disagree on them, but at the end of the day, it's like what we want, it's like what I think Shane and I want, is to go through and be like, okay, is our community better than what it was before this conversation was had? And then it's like, for me, it's I want people to, it's in terms of my own stuff, I want people to be like, you know what, that's really cool. I want to it's like I would like to inspire and motivate people to be like, don't feel so down, because I used to, I mean, in terms of mental illness, I am also bipolar. It's like I am type 2 as opposed to, and so for me, a lot of it was my content creation is pseudo focused around athletics, which I never was into high school or is ever in super early in life, and eating well. And yes, Gremlin, I hear you. I don't know if she can be heard, but I might have to Dr. Evil this thing for a little bit. Okay, come here, little gremlin. There you go. Yes.
She just wants her FaceTime, that's it.
Yes.
She just wants her 15 minutes.
She just wants her 15 minutes of fame, and now she's gonna go. She's like, okay,
See?
you have held me,
I'm good.
and now I present my butt to the internet yet once again.
Hey, that got Twitch people banned. Be careful, guys.
all right. Okay, now since we're in a good mood about
I'm
it.
sorry.
Good segue.
Good segue, in all honesty. Thank you.
Also, there's done that on a stream, and I'm like, bro, you can't show your a-hole to the internet. Please,
Right.
please move.
It's like, so I know that there is a lot of difference of opinion in regarding to the two streamers of Amaranth and Indie Fox. They received 3-day bans because their accounts were reported for sexually explicit content. Those bans were enforced, and now they're back. And to me, it's a weird thing. Like, I applaud them for their marketing savvy. However, I'm wondering, it's like, are you sure you're performing for the right audience? Because you're on Twitch. Right. I'm thinking it's like, I wouldn't go through and ask to perform cabaret in a church.
I would 100% ask to perform cabaret in a church. That'd be amazing.
I mean, granted, partly it would be like, this would be fun if I could manage to somehow get this. However, I don't know. It's weird. And I have read the articles. I've gone onto Twitter, and I have literally almost driven myself insane over this past 2 weeks, going like, really, what's going on? And so I guess let's go around and Kenny, we're gonna probably leave you to last because you'll be the legal explanation. I guess Shane, let's start off with you as a parent, considering Twitch does have, it's like, you do have to be 13 years old to have an account. And yep. you have a son around that age, so I kind of.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
it's there's a time and place for that type of content. You know what I mean? I mean, you have different outlets to perform those types of acts, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
Not on Twitch, not on a gaming stream. I mean, it's a gaming stream. You're supposed to be playing games and having conversation with your fans and stuff like that. And it's a very dicey line on it. But I mean, what was shown and stuff like that, there's other outlets for that type of behavior and stuff like that. Because the last thing I want is for my son to go on to Twitch and see some booty hole in his face while he's trying to watch somebody play a game, or even if it's not something that he's going directly to, but it's because how they'll show their top streamers and stuff like that. They'll have kind of like, here, check out what they're doing, and they're live right now, blah 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 blah.
Their lack of algorithm per se.
Yes. So, but there's definitely a time and place for those type of actions and that type of content, and it just. I'm okay with that type of content, but not
It-
say on Twitch.
Okay,
per
but
se.
but I am gonna disagree with you. Just it's like only slightly here. Do remember that you and I have a friend on Twitch that does
I know.
not game.
I know he doesn't. I know he doesn't.
So
but I'm just saying.
but the whole entire blanket statement of like Twitch is for gaming. Let's not try to generalize and throw that nasty blanket over, because there are some great content that's being produced out there that is not gaming related. There's makeup streams, art streams, cooking streams, because
music, DJing, artists.
Kenny can get into more of that later, because he's studied this. But I know that I've had a conversation. I've shared articles with you, Kiri, about this, and I'm kind of interested to get it's like I've had some discussions. I want to have more discussions with like women about this and be like, okay, because a lot of the people that I see who are saying something about this, I've only heard of 2 people coming out that are women that have kind of condemned their actions or said it's like, come on, really, what's going on? So I guess well, the floor is yours.
See, I think the thing is, it's personally when I was reading about it, my thoughts are like Twitch is its own issue. In terms of, I think there should be a way to gate certain content. You can say that it's an 18 only stream. I'm personally on the side of, I would prefer if they actually just gave a category, like for actually more explicit, not necessarily allowing directly porn, but I have a few friends in the sex work industry, and there actually aren't a lot of venues like that they can actually make their own content on.
Yeah. I mean,
and the way that OnlyFans is suppressed, like there's like Instagram will literally kill even any mention. Like you just will be hidden straight up in even your friends' feeds if you mention it or if you put a link in. TikTok will do the same thing. And there is no real way to sort of, I think Twitter is actually not really great about it either. So it sort of becomes, and not a lot, like more people use Instagram than Twitter these days, the youths. But like, so it is kind of this very, unless you're, I mean, porn sites have their own beast, and I can't go into the logistics of that because I don't know it. But like, if you are a content creator and you do sexually explicit content, there really isn't a lot out for you there, and it's very much being thinned out and kind of hitting certain roadblocks, even if you're not doing that content on places that don't necessarily allow it, or you're just like, I just have a presence here, but I want you to know I have this as an option. People still get very much squashed. And I don't know. I frankly am of the opinion that we are too fucking puritanical. Sorry, can I say the F word here?
You can. I might have to bleep it out later.
That's okay. I think as a country we are far too puritanical when it comes to something as frankly harmless as nudity. Like, but we'll show like
if people have
like my wife just finished Invincible, and I was like, dear God, this was the most unnecessarily explicit cartoon when it came to gore, like animating full guts, and it was like, yeah, it's rated R, but like no one blinked twice at it.
Yeah, and
there is something a little different when you go to like bothering to animate that level of detail rather than a live action. I'm not saying that show is bad or anything. That's like no moral judgments. I'm just saying it's very interesting the way we as a country kind of value violence over.
it is an interesting hypocrisy. To I think it would be the right term. That, and then some people like it's like, oh, I have no problem having my kids watch Game of Thrones or something along those lines. I mean, yeah, it's a very fine line to walk. I think that you are right. We need to work on making it so that way we aren't walking on the edge of the sword, but we're working on, or we're walking on the flat part as opposed to. Oh, go ahead.
Not to take too much time, but like to add a little to that, I think one of the bigger problems with like things like Twitch is their
terms of service or lack
their
thereof.
rules around it. And TikTok falls under this even more so, and I know Instagram as well. Their rules around it are a little more analogous than I would like. And like I can't talk to like Twitch getting knocked from Twitch in that regard, but I've had videos that I've had to appeal multiple times because they got hit for explicit content on TikTok, and it was like comically making out with my wife, not even sexy making out, like it was a joke of like, oh, I love you, but like it was two women kissing, and trolls complained. So it's stuff like that I'm like, I violated nothing in what you have listed this.
Yeah.
And I know that that's not a one-to-one comparison, but I also feel like
there is a reality that when you are a queer content creator, that you realize that you're being moderated through a different lens.
Yeah.
And one of the first video, well, I'll say the second video that got a community guidelines violation on TikTok was I was doing a faux photo shoot with some other Marvel superheroes, like a kind of a cover girl kind of shoot. And so Wolverine was right behind me. And my line was, is that adamantium in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Okay. And then he turns to the camera and smiles. So that got violated as graphic explicit content.
What?
And I'm thinking,
it's an innuendo.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
In my appeals language, I said, you realize adamantium isn't even real.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's things like that where it's kind of like, if you see some other really popular, more kind of their content creation is geared towards their body. They're very attractive people. They are trying to get people to see them because they are very attractive people. There's dudes on there wearing, gray sweatpants with going commando and swinging around like they're deep sea fishing. They're casting like they're deep sea fishing, and that's okay. That doesn't get banned. That doesn't get charged as explicit. But my adamantium joke, because it's two dudes or because there's a drag queen in the picture, whatever the moderator saw that made it look pervy to them became pervy, even though that was a mild PG-13 joke at that. I've seen worse in PG movies, period, than that particular joke. I did appeal and win, but it took them like 8 weeks to be able to resume that video. And then by that time, its momentum had lost. So that's not the first time I had that experience. I had to look at my content. I'm very aware that I have a very young, not all of my fans are very young, but I have a very young trans and non-binary audience that is particularly attracted to Dragpool. So I'm very conscientious regarding making sure that my content isn't too explicit. And also, but I'm also melding two mashups that are one Deadpool, which is an R-rated kind of character who makes a lot of sexualized humor to start with, and drag queens who are sassy, satirical, and rather out there regarding sexuality on the other hand.
And let's face it, Dragpool, or not, it's like Dragpool would actually be a version of Deadpool that they would make in the Marvel comics. They just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the reasons of Dragpool's appeal, is that it really is a nice lineup between those two worlds. That kind of sass and innuendo fits both drag world and fits Deadpool world very well, and so they combine very nicely together. But again, I'm conscientious that TikTok is geared towards 13 and above. I realize there's a lot of youth on there that are below that age. Some of them contact me. Some of them are my biggest trolls, quite frankly. Pre-adolescent boys love to want to make sure that I understand they're real men when they're responding to my trolling my videos. And I'm like, dude, you're too young to be watching my stuff anyway. So you're
violating the terms of service, and that part is very clear. It asks you quite directly, are you over 13 years?
It's like,
and sometimes there's, but even with my Walking Dead stuff on Instagram, my trolls tended to lean towards that age group. And so I started to talk to some of them, and I tried to figure out, kind of, instead of getting into an argument with you, who are you? And I found out that many times that they are lost adolescent boys. They don't have really strong male figures in their life. And so kind of going towards a hyper masculine ideal kind of fits their idea of who they're trying to move towards. And as I've talked to them, I've kind of become, in some ways, as much as you can at a distance, they still contact me because I talk to them about girl problems, and I talk to them about life problems. And, you know, this girl broke my heart, and you can say it to me if you can't say it to your buddy. So
David, that's so wholesome.
Oh, thank you. And on the other hand, some of my video content is a little bit risque, but, well, I aim it for a PG-13 audience. And so I'm not expecting that a 10-year-old is looking at my stuff. But even then, again, going back to that I get a special lens, my content seems to get flagged more. And sometimes I think that's because you have people who are targeting my content because of their own visceral reaction to seeing a drag queen. It has nothing to do with the actual content itself. It has to do with they don't like this presentation, and they're going to make sure they're going to do whatever they can do to make it difficult for me. So, you know, it's a weird responsibility. I want to make sure that I'm not doing things that are intentionally exposing my audience to something that they're not ready for yet. And yet I can't control that some of my audience shouldn't be on the medium to begin with. That's really somebody else's responsibility, not mine.
Yeah.
And then I also have to deal again with moderators who have implicit bias towards queer content and deciding that because I make an innuendo joke, somehow it's really pervy, when it's somebody who was not a drag queen. If I was just a regular Deadpool cosplayer, could easily get away with it.
Yeah, and we've all seen those YouTube videos of like a Deadpool cosplayer going up and smacking a female cosplayer's butt. Now, granted, in terms of the production of those videos, I know that every single one, it's like every single cosplayer is like, hey, I'm in a Deadpool cosplay, we're gonna do this. But then that almost gives consent to someone who's going through and just cosplaying as Deadpool and not creating those funny satirical videos. They feel that they then have permission to do so, which they don't. Now, I guess Kenny, we're gonna talk to have you speak in terms of your expert legal opinion. Or can we say that? Can we say expert legal opinion?
I mean, I am a scholar within the legal profession, so yes.
Okay.
You can. It still sounds weird to my ears, but you can.
It sounds weird to me because you and I went to school together, and also it's like
we have also been like blackout drunk around each other, so this is very weird.
Yes, that too.
Okay, so just to kind of put this, sorry that I've been going back and forth here because I wanted to make sure I pulled up the actual language from this stuff. So what all these social media platforms are all bound by the same set of federal regulation here. So, and the regulations are all kind of using the wording from what is now an archaic case from 1973. It's actually out of California. It's called Miller v. California. Dude with the last name of Miller was known as the King of Smut in California, and what he was doing, he was giving out pamphlets that included what at that point was considered pornographic material to, I think it was like some kind of distribution network for the material, something like that. The actual fact pattern of the case eludes me at the moment. But what resulted was the Miller test. Because it turns out whenever you're involved in something like this, if you really want your name to survive the test of time, do something stupid and end up in the Supreme Court. So you're going to get a 3-prong test here. The prongs are whether the average person applying contemporary community standards, what are those? Who knows, would find that the work taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interests. And just like I had to in law school, I just had to once again Google what prurient means.
I haven't heard that word in ages, so you just made me so happy. That used to be a joke, our AP government. It's just like, you prurient little bastards.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason they were calling you that is because, you know, you were little heathens that didn't abide exactly by the teachings of God or whatever else, and to make sure that your skirts were down to your ankles and that, you know, you didn't have anything below your neckline. What it means is that literally anything that might be considered obscene to anybody that isn't a Puritan is what the court essentially developed here, because the second prong is whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way. Once again, we have no idea what the hell that means. Sexual conduct or sexual conduct or excretory functions, specifically defined by applicable state law. There we go. We have some kind of a definition there. So in the case of Twitch, for the most part, a lot of their offices are based across the nation, but specifically we have most of their stuff either based at Amazon in Washington or in California, which is where we're going to be pulling most of that law from. Didn't bother bringing up the California law because what we're going to get into here is this last bit. Whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. That is what we call the SLAPS test in law, and it's a great way to spin St. Patrick's Day. The SLAPS test is usually meant for some kind of governmental thing, but in this case, what we're talking about is why Twitch says you have to be 13 years old to be on the platform is derived directly out of this case. So at 13, you're described as a developmental young adult.
So,
the law,
well, it's like, would you also say that Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, basically any social media platform or content creator platform that requires the age to be 13 or older, would this also apply to them? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, and okay. The reason why, if you look at all of these, almost every single one of them says you have to be 13.
Okay,
and that comes down out of this test, and then all the states usually adopt the same language within their laws, and you end up with a national standard that was never standardized.
Okay.
Because it's also based in bad medical diagnosis and bad medical history that we now know that, like, oh, okay, you know what? Actually, we should probably be teaching sex ed as young as possible because these kids aren't stupid. They know what you're talking about, and the earlier they get this education, the better off they're going to be,
and they'll figure out how things work.
Exactly. You know, that's and why a condom is essential. And don't pull the same stunts I did when I was 16. So we now have the Miller test, and we move from the Miller test knowing all of those things. We get into the Twitch sexual content requirements. On top of you having to be 13, there are a few things, and I'm pulling this directly from Twitch TOS here. Sexually explicit content. Now this is explicit. So this is literally you and somebody else having sex on camera, right? So we know that you can't do that.
Yes.
That's reserved for porn. We're supposed to do that on the porn sites or, you know, if you have an OnlyFans, whatever else, ChatterBait. I'm just trying to pull off what's hopefully hidden on my phone history. We go from there into the sexual suggestive content. This is where the two streamers, Amaranth and Indie Fox.
Yes, Amaranth.
This is where they're getting in trouble.
Okay.
And because of this, or the reason they're getting in trouble, you can go through a couple of things. They have content or camera focuses on breast, buttocks, or pelvic region. I love that they use anatomically correct words, including poses that deliberately highlight these elements. That essentially means that even the more famous dancers that do like the Just Dance from Ubisoft game on there, technically a lot of those dance moves violate the content restrictions. But we get into the why can you have a hot tub stream on Twitch and be able to wear a bikini in it? Well, it's because you're sitting in a hot tub, and that's why Twitch has the contextual requirement. And why all of a sudden, like Kiri was speaking to earlier about having its own genre within Twitch, that's why hot tubs now have their own genre, because it is content appropriate or contextually appropriate. Next thing, groping or explicit gestures directed towards breast, buttocks, genitals, that we're going to get more into explicit content there. However, these next two are where they got in trouble. Fetishizing behavior or activity, such as focusing on body parts for sexual gratification or erotic role play, and simulated sex acts or sexual stimulation. The reason Indie Fox and Amaranth got banned for these 3 days this last time around was because they were simulating licking people's ears on their ASMR mics. To put some, what we do in law typically when we're trying to defend or make an argument towards something is we look into case history, we find something with a fact pattern that's as close to our what we're describing as the fact pattern on our side as possible, and we go, hey, judge, there's a parallel here. Use this old law because it's exactly as the new law, right? You know, for second verse, same as the first. Well, in this case, what we have is there are former or current porn stars on Twitch. Sasha Grey,
Adriana Chechik.
I'm sorry, I'm not even going to try.
Last name is going to be murdered. You and I have had 2 a.m. conversations about this.
Yes. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, I even witnessed the check this one do this live on camera when this is right after the ASMR ban stuff. They're used to working professionally within restrictions and not pushing not boundaries, but so much legal borders when it comes to this kind of stuff. When she went to adjust her shirt, she leaned off camera because she knew that there's a small chance for wardrobe malfunction, and at the end of the day, she has full control over that, and it's a business that she's doing. Where if you're on here and you're making money and you're specifically on Twitch to make money, you are a business. So you have to abide by these rules and regulations. And I applaud them for trying to push and try to use their feminine sexuality and everything else to make money off of Twitch. But we run into a problem, and Carnage, a prominent streamer, mentioned this, and then also Asmon Gold, a Warcraft streamer, mentioned this very well, and it's distinct into the legal point. You only have to be 13 to be on Twitch, and that is both to view and to stream. When a 13-year-old girl shows up in a bikini and starts licking a microphone in the same way that Indie Fox was, Twitch is going down for distributing child porn.
Yeah, it's not a pretty thing to think about at all. And go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The only thing I was going to add there is the legal parallel of, if it's child porn when they're 13, it's pornographic material when they're 18.
Okay.
That's where Twitch is coming from.
It's like we started off like so happy and everything else, and now we feel terrible.
Now it's just this is the real world of the world.
Yeah, no.
It's a fair point.
It's a fair point, and it's something that's like that you have to really take a hard look at. And I very much agree with you, Kiri, as well, because I kind of. Oddly enough, I was watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And when Gene Wilder says, "There it is, black and white, clear as crystal. Good day." It's like he laid out the terms of the contract in which Charlie signed that made him lose the contest. And I think a lot of the turmoil, the stress of like, is my content going to get banned? Am I going to get flagged? Am I going to no longer be able to do this? I think that's something that a lot of us think about. Am I going to be able to am I going to be able to engage with my audience?
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. And so go ahead.
Something Kenny had mentioned about like her leaning off camera. It's not just because of wardrobe malfunctions. It's the fact that like any touching here when you are not necessarily just a woman, but especially if you are a bustier woman, can be taken that way. Even if it is the most innocuous, you just pull the hem up. There is much like how David was talking with queer content kind of being put under more of a microscope. I'm not saying this applies to the 2 streamers we were referencing, because that's a whole other ball of wax.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of regards, women are also kind of held to a certain different microscope and as well, even when it's just something that can be kind of just like, oh, I lifted it up, but oh, you're touching yourself. It's not sexual. It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, no. Ultimately, I think it's the problem in which we face in terms of producing content lies with the platforms in which we produce our content on. And like I was saying, the whole entire Willy Wonka reference black and white, clear as crystal, is how many nights, Kenny, have you and I stayed up talking about like the terms of service of Twitch and how like vague and amoebus they are? Because it seems very much that I'm pretty sure that everyone here can agree that there's something that's like, wait, I got taken down for this? Really?
Yeah, and the reason for that is that Twitch doesn't have the same, like, you make that comparison because when you see a law, it says like you have to stop at the stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's very poignant information in there. You have to stop at a stop sign. Whereas Twitch goes sexually explicit content and then doesn't give you a definition to what any of that stuff means. In criminal law, we would call that vagueness. The statute's too vague, therefore is not constitutional. Well, in the private sector, we don't have anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, we're really lucky that Twitch gives us written in stone TOS to begin with.
Yeah.
A lot of these companies will just go, yeah, technically it's not in our terms of service, but also we don't care. You're gone. So the fact that Twitch is going, hey, this is what's written, this is how we follow it, and then going, we're sorry, we're updating, we are now going to move on with this new stuff, and then putting out press releases explaining the new stuff, that we've never seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to like say Twitch is great, because Twitch is still crap, but they have so many other problems, including primarily the one that you two are both sorry.
You're fine.
There, whatever. What Kiri and Dragpool are talking about here, where on Twitch right now we're starting to see some more benefits towards like, okay, when a woman on there adjusts a strap or something, okay, it's not sexual content, that's dumb. But they added in a whole host of new descriptors you can tag your channel with, including depression, all of the LGBTQ designations you could think of on there. And you can put these on your channel and people can search by them to find channels with these tags to then watch them. Unfortunately, every conservative with an internet connection is the most active person on the planet. So when they get on there, they start searching through here and causing trouble and giving grief to these people. And what we're seeing is because it's not so much on Twitch the content that it's there, it's Twitch put a bullseye on these folks by allowing us to do this and then allowing us to put the bullseye on ourselves. And it's created a much higher occurrence rate in non-straight white channels being taken down or being flagged. And it's a system that is ever evolving and changing, but right now is very, very broken. So, I don't know. Just trying to roll that back in.
Well, I mean, I think like, and David has probably experienced, well, I don't, that's we've all had a photo that we've had posted on it's like posted on the internet, and then it's like, don't read the comment. It's like, and then the number one rule of the internet is don't read the comment section. And I mean, I am making a very large assumption here. I could very well be wrong, but I think and I think it's wrong, but I think David might be like the largest victim of, he posts something, trolls everywhere. Everywhere trolls.
Comparatively, I suppose that there's fewer trolls than folks writing stuff where they enjoy the content.
Yeah.
It's just that as the content gets more popular and gets more widely distributed, those numbers become bigger regarding even the minority. It starts to become bigger.
Okay.
And where I've seen it affect things, and I can always, in some ways, sometimes I like the troll comments when it's because, it tells the algorithm to give my stuff more attention. So, when they comment on my stuff, I want to say, you're actually reinforcing it to be distributed even further.
Like, thank you.
But sometimes I like to, most of the time I respond to my comments as Dragpool.
Mm-hmm.
So Dragpool gives them a sassy answer in response. Like,
oh, I know.
Most of it's like, bro, why did you have to ruin Deadpool? And Dragpool's response was, but he only walked funny for a couple of days and then he regenerated. Which I think goes over most of their heads. But at any rate, what I want to do is I want to see that my fan base, which again tends to be more queer youth, I want to see them that I can deal with the harassment in a manner that doesn't have to affect me, that I can rise above it. On the other hand, sometimes the comments get borderline threatening. And probably even more important, when I go to a live where, TikTok and a lot of the platforms have where you have a live session and it's just kind of instantaneous in that moment. What I do is like those trolls come in and try to dominate. Mm-hmm. So I have this audience that is fairly vulnerable to LGBT slurs or to being victimized or feeling alienated in some way. And I want to create a space where they can just have fun, where they can talk to me and ask about drag stuff, and we can talk about cosplay and makeup and all that kinds of stuff. And I can't do that without having every other comment to be somebody come in either proselytizing politically or religiously or making out and out slurs regarding anti-trans or anti-gay comments. And so I have to have somebody sit by the phone and mute them as they come in. But what happens is that the audience that's there to actually just to kind of enjoy my presentation or to connect with me has to go through that same muting process. They see the comment first before it's muted. Yeah. And after a while, it becomes, this isn't a safe place for me either. And they leave. So that's where it becomes more troubling. I can control the comments in the static comment section of my of the video. But when I go live, I don't have too many options to be able to block them. And that's where it becomes more troubling in terms of being able to connect with my audience.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it is a shame because, like, I mean, Shane's daughter is a huge fan of you. Like,
that she is. That she is. She would be your keyboard warrior. She would put those people in their place without even second guessing it, man. I'll tell you that one.
Thank you.
And dear God, may whatever deity wherever have mercy on your soul, because she would be after them faster than Odin's fury.
Yes.
Well, then she is a member of the Extra Force, because Dragpool uses the same sassy tongue in order to put people into their place, which is interesting because young David did the same thing in high school to his gay trolls in real life. When I discovered that I could put them in their place with sass or wit, they left me alone. The same thing can happen online, except in those environments, again, where I can't have all of those youth behind me. And I can be in their vanguard to see those comments first and get rid of them. So it becomes this kind of, again, again, I can manage the trolls and the static comments. It's much harder when I go live. It's hard to do a live and still have it be meaningful to the audience that I want to actually connect with.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, as Shane and I can probably both attest, it's like I've had that problem via Twitch, because I used to do something on Sundays where I do Sunday story time. I'd find something that wasn't that was not under that was under public domain, and I would go through and read read late night stories and stuff like that to possibly, because I'm told that I have a nice soothing baritone voice.
Yeah, you're putting me to sleep. No.
And it's like
I know him for a while because that was the first thought that popped in my mind.
It's like, and I have all the control, so I can mute you / make you disappear. I can Thanos you right now in terms of video, sir.
I'm usually pretty good at doing that on my own, so
This is also true. But
that looked uncomfortably real for a second. I was like, oh my god. Very angry man. Oh, it's Thanos.
And then and I stopped doing it because I stopped doing it more because life got in the way, not because I was receiving trolls. It was more of a thing where it's like I would be reading the Iliad or the Odyssey, Count of Monte Cristo, or something along those. Basically, you can go buy a fancy version of this from Barnes and Noble stories. And then I started getting the people in my streams saying it's like, you look like the type of person who picks up small children it's like in the back of a van. And I'm like, I stopped.
Wow.
I stopped and
Wow.
I said, it's like, hello and greetings, trolls of the internet. How are you doing? Do you feel, it's like, do you now feel better about yourself? Do you feel that you are now somehow bigger than I am? Here I am just trying to do my thing and anything else. I'm not hurting you. And that's, to me, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, I don't know whether to be angry at at this situation or to feel some form of pity for these people that they have nothing else better to do. And
I don't know if it's worth your anger.
Yeah, it's like, is it worth
so much effort and emotional energy? I don't know.
And also,
sorry to hijack.
No, you're fine. You are more than welcome. And because the realization that I came to was mainly the reason why we started this podcast is that I want to progress the conversation. I don't want to stop it. I want it to continue on. It's like, yes, I do care that people disagree with me, but I care in such a way that I want to understand why the disagreement's taking place, and then go through and have a conversation. So that way I can then maybe steer their why from whatever it may possibly be to something that's like, okay, let's move forward. Let's be better as, I mean, Sam Wilson, be better. As, Captain America would say.
Right.
So, and I guess we're reaching the end of our hour. I'm going to ask this of the panel. What is it that you're hoping to see in terms of your content, your creation, your growth? What is it like? I mean, what's the next big thing for you? Or what is the next step that you're hoping to take? I saw Kiri's eyes go like wide. It's like, what is my next big step? Because you just finished a book too, didn't you?
I did, but I'm waiting for the copyright to come back from the Library of Congress, which I probably should have expedited it, but my publisher's going, hey, I need this. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
So that's a big one of wanting to get that out. And hoping that sells. Writing a sequel is terrifying. More so than I thought it would be, because you don't, like, everybody's read or seen a movie they really loved, and then the next installment came out and it was a disappointment, or it didn't fulfill whatever idea. And being a big frickin' nerd, and having felt that many a times.
Well, if you ever need somebody to talk to about writing a sequel, you let me know. I'll put you into contact with my wife, who's a writer. She's written plenty of sequels, and she can give you any type of advice that you want.
Right now, it's just like general anxiety of like, there's nothing like, there's like, I mean, I know there's not a lot of logic to it, but like, you get in your head about that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
absolutely. I'm hoping, well, it is a very different kind of content than the first one, because I'm a very different person than I was with the first one. I hope people can get something from it that they need.
Cool.
So that I guess is I hope to still reach people in some way and improve that communication and continue to grow the community in an empathetic and good way.
Positive?
Positive words. Where is my editor?
Where is my brain editor? He's up to lunch eternally. David, what about you? What's the next thing for you in terms of content creation? I mean, where is it? I mean, I don't know. Where else could you possibly take Dragpool? I mean, you already have like the blessing of his creator.
I want my own post-credit scene in Deadpool 3.
Yes. All right, let's start that petition now.
What I told folks when I just first started, when I didn't set out when I started on TikTok realizing that there would actually be an audience there. I didn't realize that would happen. And so as it began happening, I thought, what can I do with this? As things began to develop, and my aspirations weren't that great. They were, I hope I get enough followers so that people give me free tickets to conventions. So that's still one of my biggest aspirations. I love the cons because I get to walk around and meet all of those folks and give them a little bit of a moment. You know, it's like, even if they don't know who I am or whatever, don't even know what the character I'm being, I love to interact with them and give them a photo and give them what I call like their Disneyland character moment at the con. And so I still enjoy those things. And so I'm looking forward to the world opening back up. I'm an introvert by nature. So being able to be, that's why I think I really like special effects makeup in particular, because it covers me solid. There's no part of David that pokes through in that. And so I can walk around and be these different characters, and people call out those characters' names and I interact with them as the character. But if somebody were to call out my name as just David walking around, I would probably be tongue-tied when I'm able to kind of talk to them. So it gives me that ability to connect. That my introversion kind of sometimes has to wait until I get to know somebody to connect them with. So I think my goals aren't that big since that point. I still hope I get invited to cons for free, and I still get to hope to meet the folks who are attending there and give them a moment. And if that opens up some additional opportunities, I've been able to work with some other really famous drag queens up to now because of that. That's like icing on the cake. That's just like, I never would have even imagined that would have happened. So, you know, I'm going to keep that door open for other possibility because that's what it means to be a creator. I don't want to limit what those possibilities could be.
And you said it's like, you know, in terms of Dragpool, you gave it's like you're giving people a Disney photo moment. Sir, do you remember that you and I had that Disney photo moment where I was cosplaying as Captain America, and you? It's like we're like, okay, we're posing for a picture. And then you raised your knee up, and I'm like, okay, we're going with this. It's like I had my hand on his thigh.
Still have that photo.
Yes. And it's like I have this.
Unless I am super tired, you are not going to get a standard just stand next to each other cosplayer pose when you are posing with Dragpool. I will actually pose people. Say, we're going to make this shot memorable. We're all going to become the Supremes and do the handout and make it look like we're all singing together.
I think
doing, you know, recreating some scene from a movie to, again, doing something cheeky like putting my leg up and having somebody hold it. It's got to be a moment. It's not just a matter of taking a photo. I want people to go away laughing and having a good time, even if it's just for 2 or 3 minutes.
And I think and I think that we titled that photo "Don't Tell Peggy."
That's my favorite kind of cosplay photo, is when like cosplayers like will actually embody the character in that moment. I'm always like, do cosplay however you want. I always just find it a little funny when like you have like this really badass character who's like very stoic, and then someone says, "Can I take your picture?" and they're like, "Okay." And I'm like,
Ooh, woo.
"You do you." Ooh, woo. And I'm like, kind of funny. Don't know if you see the meta joke going on here, but I'm here for it.
And then Kenny, I only can assume that the next step in your growth is to finish your second doctorate.
Oh no, I'm actually trying to postpone that as much as possible. The hiring market is horrible in higher ed right now. So,
all right.
If you want to just keep throwing me checks, I will keep taking them. No, actually, primarily right now, I want to see Disney get a hold of David so I can buy a licensed Dragpool doll. That's a huge after this discussion. But no, other than that, just, you know, keep on having conversations with people on Twitch.
full on
That's-
thought
as
you were
long-
gonna say you were going after your third. When you're like, no, actually, I'm gonna be on my third next. I'm like, damn, that's
yeah.
amazing.
Trust me, if I can figure out any way to also cover rent at the same time, I would just stay in school forever. Because screw the real world. I don't want to be part of it.
But yet it's still here.
Yeah, it's my damn leg. I don't.
And Shane, I guess what is your I mean, I know it's like I know what the immediate goal is. But is there any other goal that you haven't told me about?
No, I mean, just just what we do with the podcast. I mean, in cosplaying, just continue to do what I do. Hopefully, to continue to love doing the community work, working with the charities and stuff like that, and all that fun stuff. And then, my goal for this next year is to get my son involved in it. He's 12 now, and he's definitely shown some interest in doing that type of stuff. And he's always coming up to me like, Dad, I want to stream. I want to play video games, and I want people to watch me play video games like I watch people. So I'm gonna try and maybe get something going for him when he turns 13.
It's like that's a hard market to get into.
I know, but that's all he does, man. And he's I think he's good, but of course I have a bias. I'm his dad, so.
Well,
support his dream.
yes.
Support his dream, even if that doesn't become something fruitful. It will open up a path to something else. So it's great that you're standing behind it.
Right.
100%.
And it's
100%, yeah.
funny too, because everybody thought that he was going to be like this all gaudy baseball player, taking after his dad, and he doesn't even like sports. So I'm like, all right, dude, let's do this. Whatever you want to do, let's do it. So
Excellent.
All right. Well, that I think is a good note to end our episode on. Thank you, David. Thank you, Kiri. Thank you, Kenny, for taking the time to be a part of this episode. Like 2 straight episodes, like knock out of the park. Special guests, great conversation. I very much appreciate it. I love you all, even you, Kenny.
It's not mutual.
I expected that response. Join us in 2 weeks where we'll be talking Loki in terms of our predictions, where we've gone with the episode and everything else. But again, David, Kiri, Kenny, thank you so much. My name is Brendan. That's been Shane. We are the Knights of Nerd, and thank you for joining us at the round table.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.